The Hog's Eye is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsdie.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hey out there, Hogstine Nation, and welcome to another fantastic pregame show. We got 2 more games left in the season. This is Alex Zeese filling in for Sean Conti, who is at some kind of weird networking event, he said. So that's what he's up to do.
Said he didn't want to do the show.
Yeah. I mean, it's Redskins going against the Titans. Not exactly something we're all looking forward to, right?
Conti, networking. Does that make sense to you?
No, it really doesn't. Although he is writing his book, and he's doing all sorts of weird things. He's going through like a midlife crisis at 30 is what's going on.
He's a little young for it.
Yeah, well, maybe he's going to live fast.
My midlife crisis was starting a website and obsessing over it every day.
Right. Mine too. But that's, of course, Steve and I who have the Midlife Crisis website, and we're joined by Jamal. Jamal, what's your midlife crisis going to be? Because you already have like a sports car, don't you? So
yeah,
you need to do something.
Eventually, I know that I'll. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I was looking at a game, but eventually I know.
Show.
Yeah. I'm multitasking, but eventually and see that's the thing. That's going to be my midlife crisis. Eventually, I'll get to a point where I'll realize that I'm a degenerate, a gambling degenerate, and I'll have to find an entirely new hobby to pick up. And I'm pretty sure it won't be riding motorcycles.
No.
It may be what's that thing in the gym where you're handball, slapball, racquetball, whatever that thing's called in the gym.
Handball?
It's something.
Well, there's
Highlight?
ball and there's handball.
It's like
there's
it's
two
the.
different. Are you using a racket?
No, it's the one. Yeah, it is. You are using a racket, but
Squash?
absolutely not, Alex. Oh my goodness.
I'm just naming all sorts of weird ball sports.
So look, and
You're talking about racquetball.
it must be racquetball
I
because
think
it's a wall and there's 2 players in the
Right.
room.
It's like a tennis racket shape kind
Yeah.
of thing. That's
Okay, so racquetball.
Yes.
'Cause I got some family who does that, and they're well over 50, so I can imagine me playing.
Yeah.
I used to play racquetball quite a bit. It's a fun
I
game.
see. It looks a little dangerous, though.
Oh, yeah, I've been hit. You can get,
So I see why they wear
Nice
glasses
black and
stuff
blue
like that.
bruises.
Yeah, you can get taken out. No, I think that's not going to be your midlife crisis, Jamal. Yours is you're going to go become a bookie in Vegas.
That
Yeah.
that will probably
surrender
be
to
it.
gambling.
That will probably
Go
be
the
an
other way.
adrenaline rush right there. I would love that. I would love that. I might do it. I might be the local bookie. Who knows?
The house always
That's true.
wins. Remember, Jamal, the house always
Absolutely.
wins.
I am well aware. They're taking my money right now as we speak.
and yet you continue to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
Well-
Right now I'm on a good streak. I've won more than I lost, so I'm gonna keep doing it.
That'll change tonight.
Hey, come on
Yeah.
now. Don't
Speaking of winning, Steve and I, we had a winner of an interview on It's Just Business with Chris Larry. Steve roped me into doing it because I'm the only one who has the equipment to do a phone interview with Rick Snyder to talk all about the Redskins Stadium. And I wanted to put it out there on our own show. Go listen to it. It's an hour of nonstop Redskins Stadium talk, which, if you're a fan, should interest you. If you're a fan and that doesn't interest you, I don't know what's up with you.
Yeah. I don't know why you're listening to us if you're not a fan. No, it was one of the best things we've done in a while
On that
It's Just
show.
Business. Yeah, on
Yeah.
It's Just Business. So everything you ever want to know about the new Redskins Stadium, for sure.
Right. And I like to jokingly say Rick and Steve might be the 2 smartest people who aren't in the Redskins office when it comes to all this stadium stuff.
I think I'm the smartest person, period. But
See,
Well,
they do
yeah,
their
but
research.
that's
They
a
know
whole
us.
nother issue we got to
that's
deal
my
with.
ego and narcissism talking there.
All right, well, let's get into
let's be fair. I think Rick, certainly in the media, certainly probably Rick and I are probably it.
In the official media, Rick. In the podcast world, it's probably you.
Yeah.
Because you've just got more experience than almost anybody in that realm. So, anyway, go check it out. It was a really fun interview. I could talk to Rick every day, and I think it would be worthwhile as a fan. But
It would be a bit odd.
yeah, it'd be a bit odd. Anyway, but let's get into the this week with the Redskins non-stadium related stuff. The Redskins made some roster moves. Let's start with those, Steve, because I'm sure you have that
All right.
press release pulled up.
Well, we've had all sorts of things go on this week because, hashtag Redskins.
Yes.
The first thing that happened was that Josh Holsey got put on IR, and in his place they signed Harlan Miller. And then we filled up the rest of our practice squad but with somebody named a DB named Alex Carter. Don't know anything about him. Monte Crockett, wide receiver, who takes the departed Simi Cobb's place, who Simi got stolen by the Saints and was on the field, at least on the sidelines with the Saints the other night. And then running back named Russell Hansbrough. That was early in the week. Then Tuesday, Danny Johnson, IR.
Right.
Recall he was hurt in the game this past week against the Jaguars.
And what number does that put us at, Steve?
20.
20.
We made it.
Congratulations,
it was
Redskins.
a long road, people. It was really tough to get there. Yeah, I'm so happy that you worked hard and we hit 20 again. Let's keep going. Maybe we can get to 24 before the end of the week. End of the year.
Hey, 22 is also a big number because that's a full roster of starters.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Danny Johnson's number 20 on IR. They brought Jeremy Reeves up from the practice squad to replace Danny Johnson, and then they signed somebody named Jack Toko, and no, I don't know who that is, to the practice squad, and no, I didn't research him. Sorry, folks.
To be fair, most of these guys were signing to the practice squad at this point. None of us know them, and none of us will ever know them because they'll be here 2 weeks.
Because I obsess over the roster, I will eventually learn about Jack Toko. I just don't know, or Tocho, however you pronounce his name. Don't know anything right now. So if you're looking for the Jack Tocho hour, this is not.
And
the
when
show.
Steve knows, we'll know, because I damn sure I'm not looking him up.
Yeah, Jamal doesn't know either. Okay, and then of course we had Monte Nicholson.
Yes.
Monte is now, as we speak, on the reserve non-football related injury list. Which means essentially that he is off the 53-man roster and he can be replaced, which they have not done yet. And the reason, of course, is that Monte got in a big fight in the middle of the street at dark 30 in the morning with some total random stranger. And the person he was with, who is a woman, she was not identified in terms of relationship with him. She beat somebody over the head with a bottle.
It was Monte and a woman versus some rando dude and another woman, is what it was.
Just Monte definitely won the fight.
Yeah. Do you saw the video? Did you see the video too,
Yeah, I
Jamal?
saw the video.
Yeah.
I'd just like to give a bit of advice.
Because you guys were talking boxing before the show. That was a clean hit.
Yeah, that was Tyson versus Spinks. Right there is what it was. I just like to give everybody a bit of advice. If you see an NFL player in the middle of the street at any time,
if you recognize that it's an NFL player, continue.
How about if you see somebody who looks like an NFL player?
Well, there's a lot of people that could look like NFL player.
Generally speaking, not all of us are 6'3" and jacked and 2% body fat.
Yeah, I mean, if you see someone who you know is a football player in the middle of the street and you just think you can take him, you can't, and just walk away.
Right. You can't even take Tress Way. Don't even try.
Yeah, you can't take the punter. He's going to beat the crap out of you, and that's what Monte Nicholson did. Now, Monte, as a result of this, the story goes, there's a million rumors. We don't know.
Right. I don't even want to talk about the rumors until we know.
The bottom line is he was fighting with a couple of guys in the middle of the street, and the woman he was with was participating in the fight. Apparently, there was alcohol involved. He and she were both arrested. He was charged with assault and battery and then public drunkenness in Loudoun County. Now, I did try to look this case up with Loudoun County before we recorded, and it is not loaded yet, so I do not have more details than that. I tried to finagle my way to get documents out of Loudoun County. They haven't responded yet, so we really don't have much more information. What I will say is this. Assault and battery in the state of Virginia is a Class 1 misdemeanor. and it is punishable by up to 12 months in prison or a fine of up to $2,500. And I'll just say, before anybody freaks out over that, if Monte has a clean record, and we have never known him to not have a clean record, this is one of these things that will get pleaded down to something lesser, and he will most likely get like a deferred adjudication or probation. He'll pay a fine. He'll go to some like anger management classes or something like that, and will go away. The odds of him doing prison time
over a fight
are slim and none, and Slim's on the bus out of town. Okay?
Now,
this is not a big deal.
I'm assuming, and like I said, we're not going to get into the rumors, but I'm assuming also the circumstances that lead up to the fight matter a lot in that case too.
I mean, sometimes. I mean, it's hard to tell. Like you said, when we don't really know what happened, it's really hard to tell. The bottom line is, Monte and a woman and two dudes were fighting in the middle of the street. Everybody got arrested. In the world of criminal stuff, this is very minor.
Right.
In terms of the NFL, how this will affect him, this will, because there's a video, it almost certainly will be a violation of the NFL's personal conduct policy, and he will be subject to a suspension for assault and battery. There is a baseline of 6 games, but that's pretty harsh for this, I think, in terms of the NFL. So you have to expect he's probably looking at a couple game suspension, I would assume.
Yeah. Jamal, I mean, we said, you saw the video. What was your first reaction? What is your reaction at this point to kind of everything?
Well, I'll just be quite blunt and honest. Just from a personal perspective, it wasn't smart of him. Obviously, you got to understand who you are, even if you are, out drinking and you're having yourself a good time. We don't know the full details of what happened. We know, they were in the car.
I know the word is he was at a very expensive steakhouse. That's what I've heard.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, we know he was drinking, and they at some point they were in the car, and they got out of a car. So you had a few options or a few moments, where you could say, yeah, it's not worth it. But at the end of the day, for me, fights happen. So I may not be looking at it, in a, like I said, in a professional way. Obviously it's not smart for him, but it's just, fights happen. So it's just unfortunate, that second it got caught on camera, because it doesn't look good when you're knocking somebody out, especially for your, the league working. You're technically employed by the league, the NFL. So it doesn't look good for him. But I don't necessarily have a issue with him getting into a fight, because it happens. I don't understand personally how people, because I just heard it on the radio, local radio, so I just wanted to say it. I just don't understand why people think, why they feel the need to connect the dots of him not having playing time or having his playing time taken away to him getting into a fight. Like, those are just two separate issues. Again, because fights happen. So him being benched has nothing to do with him getting into a fight. So he got benched like 6 or 7 weeks ago. The hell does it have to do with today or last night? So that's just how I felt.
Did people actually make that connection?
Yes, they really did. They really did. It was, like I said, local. Like,
that's weird.
Yeah, local radio. So I'll be specific with that. I didn't really see people on Twitter doing it. Well, they did, but they were joking. Like, you could tell that it was just a humorous moment for them. But people on the radio was dead serious about it. They were serious, and they tried to connect the dots, and it was stupid.
That's odd.
The only thing I'll say about this is, in terms of criminal stuff, this is not Reuben Foster. This is not domestic violence. This is not Ray Rice. He did not hit a woman. The woman who was there was on his side and was hitting someone else on his behalf.
If you watch the video, there's several instances where there's women fighting and they're pulling each other apart. And then the guys go back to fighting,
This is not that serious. It's bad, and it's stupid, and he's a moron for putting himself in this position. But in the world of criminal stuff, this is not that serious.
Can I say it's a little weird that after it happened, and I first saw the headline that he got an assault charge, I was like, oh, no. And then I saw he fought a dude, and I was like, "Oh, thank goodness, he's just fighting another guy for a change."
Yeah, I understand. I understand your relief. It makes sense, especially given the situation that we've been through the past couple of weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Well, and the NFL at large has had this issue.
Well, that's their fault. Yeah. But in terms of our team, That's one
yes.
thing. They don't know how to
It's
handle
become
these
the
things.
Redskins' fault. It's become the Redskins' fault too. Now that they brought
It has,
Mr. Foster
yeah.
That is true. That is very
But
true.
it's been an NFL problem for years, and we've luckily stayed out of it until recently.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Jamal's right. Look, Jamal's right. I mean, dudes get in fights, and this happened,
Yeah.
and it just so happened
Right.
it got caught on camera with a guy who's above.
especially dudes who are in their early 20s who are just jacked up workout guys all the time.
And let's face it, I mean,
There's a
the
lot of
cause
testosterone flowing.
The cause of most of these things is almost always alcohol related.
Yeah.
You know, that's what happened here.
Alcohol-related shenanigans. That's what it is.
But the final thing we'll say is we've probably seen the last of Nicholson for the 2018 season. He's almost surely not
definitely.
going to be back for game week 17. And so what will probably happen is they will find yet another replacement for yet another guy on the roster here in the next day or two. Would be my
So
guess.
can we count him as number 21 or no? Because it's a fight.
No, it's not an injury. See, I mean, it's.
Oh,
it's-
okay.
I'm glad
so
it was an injury.
you're going to be hardline about that one. I get it.
Yes, yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Got to draw the line.
All right. Well, you mentioned Week 17. I want to jump to one more topic before we go Redskins Titans because, why not? But Week 17, there is some talk that Colt McCoy, who somehow broke a leg, 2 weeks ago, could come back. Is Colt McCoy Wolverine? Does he have miracle healing powers?
I did think it was kind of
Should we-
weird. That.
Yeah.
What I should say, not weird, but more so, it was kind of interesting that there was reports of him in the locker room today, walking around with no cast on or no crutches,
No
or
boot.
anything, no
Yeah.
boot. So I was kind of thrown off. I mean, I don't know. We know he had a fracture and it was slight, clearly because they was only expecting him to be out 2 to 4 weeks. But just hearing it, it was like, oh, okay, he's back this soon. One thing's for sure, if Josh Johnson plays well, not necessarily wins, but if he plays well against the Titans, save McCoy, okay? You don't have to put him back in the game in the starting lineup.
I totally agree with you there. Number one, I think Colt McCoy is crazy. I mean, I understand his point, his rationale, because this was his shot. This was his shot, and it went right out the window, and you got to feel bad for him in that respect. But Jamal's exactly right. If Josh Johnson looks decent, even if win or lose, if he looks decent and he's healthy, the team would have to be crazy to.
I would stick. I'm with both you too. I would stick with Johnson if, unless he pulls a Mark Sanchez in this game, which I don't think he will. I don't think he'll be that bad.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think I feel bad for Colt, and I understand his point. I originally thought maybe what was going on is they were going to try to bring him back for the playoffs. If the Redskins were going to be in the playoffs, and
sure,
that's still an option. But it's coming back 3 weeks after a broken. I guess it's a cracked leg. I don't know. That sounds insane to me personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a long shot that he really does it, but we all know he's a guy Gruden loves. So
this is kind of the thing where it's like everybody's sort of humoring him. It's like, okay, Colt, you do your thing,
right?
Just pat
Colt,
him
look at you practicing.
Just pat him on the head, Meanwhile, they got Josh. They're like going, Josh, get out there. That's really what's happening.
Colt's running around the sideline, being, hey guys, look at me! I can throw this past 15 yards.
That's what. Yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Well, I can't remember if there's anything else. There's just nothing really.
Drama. Is that it? There's no other drama for this.
Well,
week?
there's some rumor stuff that I've been hearing. I'm sure you guys saw it on Twitter about Dan Snyder hates Bruce Allen and vice versa.
No, I didn't hear that.
I don't know if
Enlighten
that's
me.
got any substance
this would
to
be
it.
a raw reaction from me. What
Yeah.
what was the news?
Well, I just saw somebody. I think it was Chris Russell tweeted
Oh,
that
my
he
goodness, Kim.
got dirt on that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can trust
Yeah,
it.
he does. He likes to. He likes to
Stir it up.
He likes to stir it up. He has
Yeah,
narratives.
he also had
that
a
he has to keep
rumor
alive.
that Eric Schafter might be leaving. Right.
Well, that was not. Yeah, that was a little bit bigger rumor. The rumor there was that there is another NFL team that is interested in making Eric Schaefer the team
But
president.
it all ties in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's just when it comes to Chris Russell himself, it all ties back into Bruce Allen. And that's what the Schaefer news came down to as well. But yeah, you go ahead just to make sure it's known, Steve, about what was going on.
No, that was it. I mean, that was a rumor, and I didn't think that originated.
They didn't even say what team. I haven't even heard what team it is that might be interested in him.
Well, nobody knew. It wasn't known, and that did not originate. That originated from someone not Chris Russell.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I didn't. I thought that was him.
Yeah, because I saw him
rumor.
say that, but I guess he was more so. Well, I guess he was more so repeating it or just speaking on it with his opinion or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth mentioning that Schaefer's been in the building for 16 years, which is longer than Bruce by 7 years, and apparently Dan Snyder really trusts him, really likes him, and it would be.
And he's the money guy.
Yeah, it would be a tough blow.
Yeah, and I do agree with that, and I'm pretty sure everyone kind of has that consensus that Schaefer being the cap guy. Losing him would be a tough thing.
The Redskins used to have another general counsel, and now it's Schaefer in both roles. And so the general counsel is advising the owner on legal matters related to the team that have nothing to do with football for the most part. And so he's playing a bigger role than most people realize. Most people think of Eric Schaefer as the salary cap guy, but if he's
I do.
He's the team general counsel. The general counsel's office does 90% not football related stuff.
Okay, so he's the money guy, and he's getting Dan out of jail. So
He's the team lawyer.
Gotcha. All right, well, okay, we put it off long enough, I think, at this point. Let's talk Redskins-Titans. Guys, the Titans shut out the Giants last week, 17-0. Are you worried that we're going to get shut out? Let me just start there.
I'm worried that Derrick Henry's going to rush for 5,000 yards. That's what I'm worried about.
That's what you're worried about?
Yeah.
Jamal, what about you? You think we'll get shut out? Let's just get right to the point.
No, I don't think we'll get shut out.
No?
Yeah, like I said, as you guys know, I didn't have much faith in the Skins against the Jaguars, so it's going to be hard for me to just flip hit or turn heel with this game.
Right.
I know we're not going to get shut out, but I don't know if we're going to score more than 13 points or 16 points.
Well, let's talk about.
But I know when it comes to the Titans, we're going to that's not the Jaguars. We're going to need more than 13 or 16 points to win this game.
No, that is a offense that actually can get high powered, and yeah, Steve, I'm sure you have a couple numbers you want to throw at us right now.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, the Titans are a playoff team. This is not the Jaguars. The Titans are 8-6, and they're fighting to stay in the playoffs. They are, Their offensive stats are odd if you look at them. You wouldn't expect an 8-win team. They're 27th in points, 27th in total yards, 26th in yards per play, 30th in passing yards. Their saving grace has been rushing, and it's been over the past 2 weeks. Derrick Henry, earlier in the year, and basically right up to week 13, was having a pretty mediocre at best season. Mm-hmm. And as Derrick himself said it, he apparently scouted his own film over the bye week and tweaked some of the way he plays, and it all sort of finally came together against Jacksonville in week 14, and he has rushed for over 400 yards between the Jaguars and the Giants. The thing about Derrick Henry, and so Marcus Mariota is a good quarterback. He's passing. He's got a completion percentage of almost 69%.
Yeah, he's solid in almost every stat.
Yeah, he's a solid quarterback, but this has become, it's become the Derrick Henry show in the past 2 weeks. He had 33 carries, against the Giants. The only real, true threat in the wide receiver core is Corey Davis. Corey Davis is their leading receiver. Mm-hmm. But none of Tajay Sharp has talent. But none of these guys scare me too much. I think if it were me, the answer needs to be sell out to stop Derrick Henry. Put Josh Norman on Corey Davis. Let him travel. Take him one-on-one. The thing about Derrick is the guy, he's 6'3", 250 pounds. You'd think he's Earl Campbell. He's not Earl Campbell. If you watch his film, this dude he's great at finding the right angle to take.
Yeah. He's a little shifty too.
He's not running over people. He can, and he did in that famous run against the Jaguars. I went 99 yards.
Right.
But he's more shifty and smart about the way he's running more than anything else, and he's beating guys to the edge with quickness and agility. which is not what you see. And he's been doing that since Alabama, and that's not what you'd expect to see from a guy like that. You really think of Earl Campbell, particularly since it's the franchise of Earl Campbell, but that's just not who he is. And so this week, we have to have linebackers who understand how to seal the edge and understand how to not get beat, outrun to the edge and not play gap control. All that stuff that we've seen bad going on with the Redskins linebacker core needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. One that I hadn't really considered is how important the linebackers are going to be against Henry. Jamal, what are your thoughts about how you would approach stopping the Titans? Do you agree with Steve, or is there anything different you would look at?
I agree with Steve, but I'll just add that when it comes to the Titans' offense in general, they're a momentum team, and what I mean by that is, although they are a good mob overall, if you can get them out of their rhythm early on, it's going to be hard for them to get back into the game. And also, you're going to have to limit the opportunities they have in terms of, for example, if you're up 3-0, you're up 10-0, or you're up 7-0, or 7-3, you have a lead, period. You have to make sure that you stay consistent in your game. And I only say that because I have a friend who's a Titans fan, so I watch them just as much as the next. Well, I watch them a little bit more than the average Redskins fan. Just put it that way.
Sure.
And I just understand, like, when they're down, it is really hard for them to get back into a game. But when their momentum is going, you see a game like they had against the Jaguars. They struggled against the Giants, really. However, it was a rain game. Once they got the 7-0 lead, it was very hard for the Giants to get back into it because it was pouring down raining to begin with. And they really couldn't move the ball with Saquon. So you just have to make sure, I agree with Steve, but you just have to make sure you limit their chances to get back into a game. You have to limit their explosive plays because once like one or two gets going, it's very hard for them to be stopped.
The other thing needs to be said is this is a team that's significantly better at home.
Sure.
They've only lost one game at home. That was to the Baltimore Ravens. They just play better in Nashville for some reason or another. It's got to be said. There's a great comparison because the past 2 weeks they've played the Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those have been their past two opponents, which coincidentally is the same opponents as the Redskins have had.
Right.
They beat Jacksonville 30-9, and as Jamal just said in that rain game, they beat the Giants 17-0. They've done better against the common opponents than the Redskins have by far.
Yes.
And it's been Derek's getting good yardage no matter what, Derrick Henry, but he's had some huge plays. The 99-yarder. He had, I think, a 70-yarder, I believe, against the Giants. He's breaking massive plays. And so the trick is, I think, against Tennessee, is to keep him from breaking those big plays. You need to see solid tackling. You need to see Clinton Dix out there trying to arm tackle people because that's when he's going to get tossed like a rag doll. The problem is you do all that, but Marcus Mariota can still play and he can still throw. So it's a tough – and their defense – we'll get to their defense later, but their defense is tough.
Well, and if I'm going to wrap up my thought on this offense, it has to do with stopping Henry, but it also has to do with Mariota. I think you really have to kind of contain your outside edge rushers, your Kerrigan and Smith, really. They can't overextend on any of their rushes in this game. Mariota, he's great at getting outside the pocket and making plays. He can make some passes from inside the pocket, but I think you're better off trying to keep him in the pocket. Likewise with Henry, Henry's great at finding those holes if a linebacker overruns the play. I think you got to make sure that you're keeping containment on not just the pass rush, but also in your run-stopping assignments here.
True, and we'd be remiss in mentioning that Deion Lewis is on this team. He was with New England last year. He's the running back the second running back, but he's got 357 yards in the air in receiving, which is what you're talking about with Mariota. He's the guy. I mean, we saw it last year with how Tom Brady used him.
Yeah.
And Mariota can do the exact same thing. Deion Lewis is your Chris Thompson type. That's Deion. So
Every team has one. You got to watch out for
A
him.
little better right now, given that Chris Thompson's dealing with his injury. So he's going to be a handful, Deion Lewis, especially if they use him properly. If they've seen the film on the Redskins, they don't really defend the screens well at all. So
Yeah.
And the other guy that they use a lot is Tywan Taylor. He has 47 targets, so watch for him. But I mean, that's their weapons. This is not a complicated team, and they're a lot like the Redskins in some ways, in that they're relying they rely on their run game. I don't think they're going to try and fool anybody. I don't think they're going to try and trick anybody. I think they are going to roll with Derrick Henry as long as it keeps going well, because that's what they've been doing over the past 2 weeks.
Yes, I mean, it is funny that you say that, because I was going to say the same thing, especially with Johnson now as our quarterback. These two offenses almost could be identical in the way they kind of are drawn up. Not in execution necessarily, but at least in design. You're going to see a lot of read option and, runs from the quarterback by both teams, I think. So let's switch to our offense now, just to kind of keep pace here. Like I just said, I think the way you're going to move the ball in this game is kind of like last week. Johnson's got to run. That seems to be our most effective way to move the ball at this point. We don't have guards to run the ball conventionally anymore. I think you got to move the ball with Johnson.
We barely have guards, period.
Yeah, we really don't. I mean, I don't know if Ty is even going to be back in. So, we'll see.
He's on the injury report.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, injury report, in terms
I know we did
Wednesday,
IR, but yeah.
Yeah, Holsing Johnson went to IR. The DNPs for Wednesday's practice were Maurice Harris, Colt McCoy, Tyne Secchi, Monte Nicholson, of course, Jordan Reed. And then the limited were Ryan Anderson, Tony Bergstrom, Matt Ioannidis, Alex's boyfriend, Morgan Moses, Adrian Peterson, Tim Settle, and Trent Williams.
Right.
So the list is long and distinguished.
So, yeah, it's a long list. Jordan Reed is the one that you're kind of hoping can come back, right? I mean, we saw Johnson, some of his best pass plays were those bootlegs where he was hitting the tight end for like a 5 to 10 yard gain. I'd love to see him getting Jordan Reed in something like that, because Reed will turn that into a 15 to 20 yard gain if you get him right.
Yeah. I mean, look, people need to understand that the Titans defense is legit, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Second in the league in total points surrendered, seventh in yards per game, ninth in yards per play, sixth in passing yards. They are number one in the NFL in red zone defense as measured by touchdowns surrendered. They're fifth in third down conversions. Quarterback ratings, quarterbacks are averaging 88.4 rating against them, which is eighth in the NFL. If they're a little bit, statistically speaking, they give up a little bit more in the run game than they do in the pass game. They're giving up 4.3 yards per attempt. That's 13th. Good, middle of the pack. Statistically, they are better against the pass. And this is another one of these teams where these guys aren't doing it by sacks and interceptions. They're doing it because they're just stopping people. They only have 8 interceptions on the year. They only have 36 sacks, which is good but not great. That's, again, in the middle of the pack. So this is just a solid defense. Passing yards are going to be hard to come by. The Redskins are going to have to run the ball this week.
I agree. But I mean, good luck. To be honest with you, good luck. But with Alex's point, I think Josh Johnson's leg is going to be just as important from last week as it is this week. So it's going to be difficult to run the ball against him. However, when you have a guy like Josh Johnson, you can, first off, he's more willing as a quarterback to get the job done on the ground. So I give the edge in terms of our run game is going to be a little bit leaning towards Josh Johnson. I'm not necessarily like Adrian Peterson did a great job closing the game out last week. However, he's not going to be that guy who's going to be able against this defense. He is the guy who can get it done, but against this defense, he's not going to have that type of success, especially with this offensive line who struggles to even block consistently, let alone avoid holding calls.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to get that type of production from him throughout the game. So yes, Josh Johnson will be that key. It's going to be interesting, to be honest, from my perspective. I do want to see how he responds, Josh Johnson in general, against another solid defense. And especially on the road again, 2 back-to-back road games. I'm pretty interested in it. He's the guy that I like to look at when it comes to this offense.
Yeah, me too. And it's hard to root. He's easy to root for. You know, he's got a great story.
Everyone loves the underdog. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the underdog. He's well spoken. You know, he seems to care, so everybody's rooting for him. I just think that this is a tough road to hoe against this kind of defense, particularly in the air. So I think the problem with Josh Johnson running is that everybody knows he's going to run. Okay, the Jaguars knew it; they were ready for him, but for a couple of times when he escaped, the Titans most definitely are going to be ready for it. You know, and so it's a tough game, and it's a tough situation for him to walk into. Particularly, look, I mean, this offense has been non-prolific against the worst defenses. There's no reason to suspect that they're going to become prolific against one of the top defenses.
Right, and if they don't have playmakers for him to throw the ball to, like we saw last week, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, we know they don't have playmakers, okay?
Right.
We know that.
Yes.
And just some weird oddities about their stats I'd like to throw out there. They are first in kickoff returns in the NFL, meaning they are the best kickoff return team.
The Titans?
I think they got the number 1 kick returner in the league.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
They also have the worst kick return defense in the NFL. So there's that. They are number 1 in penalties, meaning the least number of penalties in the entire NFL. Only 71 penalties on the year. Contrast that with the Redskins with 105.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say, I think Morgan Moses alone has more penalties than the Titans.
Yeah, Morgan Moses has got like 50 of those 105, I think, at this point. So anyway, I mean, it's look, they're a good team, and they have to win. They need this win for playoffs scenarios, just like the Redskins do. So it's going to be a battle. There's a reason this game is on Saturday this week.
Yeah,
because it has implications for both teams. The implication here, by the way, here's the deal. The Redskins are 7-7. The Dallas Cowboys are 8-6. The Eagles, one way or another, it's going to work itself out next week. Okay,
right.
The Redskins or the Eagles are going to win or going to lose. So the Redskins are in a decent place to get a wild card slot here if they win out. If they win out and they get a little bit of help from the Minnesota Vikings,
we could get lucky. Yes.
Yeah, and so it's crazy as it sounds, given all that's happened. The Redskins truly could end up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it starts now, and if they lose this game, it's over. So
correct.
It's a playoff game.
I mean, I agree. I don't really have much to add after that. It's a playoff game. You are fighting for that. First off, I mean, it'll be good just in the Redskins sense of things to beat Tennessee and have that. I guess essentially, if things go your way, you got the winning in situation or scenario, possible scenario, put it that way, possible scenario at home against Philly. So, it's a playoff game, playoff implications, tough road.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Seattle Seahawks have basically got the number 1 wild card seed locked up, more or less, at 8-6. They're 3 games behind the Rams, but they're basically, unless they really just wet the bed, they're going to get the number 1 wild
they got
card.
who is it this week? The Chiefs. The Chiefs are in town. Not saying that not saying the Chiefs are going to come in and beat them. Just more so, it is. Who do they have after the Chiefs? If you know.
Oh gosh.
I'm pretty sure it's a divisional game since it'll be week 17.
Yeah, week 17 is always divisional.
They've got the Cardinals.
Okay. So they're getting to 9 wins, no matter what. They're getting to 9 wins.
Yeah, and so the Redskins are basically competing with the Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings. And
right.
Again, the Eagles are going to work itself out. Now the Titans, though, they're in a battle with the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Colts. all for the wild card 2 spot. So it is a serious game for both teams.
It really is. And I don't know.
Realistically, Tennessee's probably out of it. Realistically, if they lose,
yeah.
For all, they might not be out mathematically, but for all intents and purposes, the team that loses Saturday is done.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all right. So, anything else to add, or do we want to do our predictions and close this thing up?
We could talk for another half hour on Monte Nicholson's criminal trial, but criminal issues, but let's not.
No. I think we'll save that for the off season.
I'll say this, just for the sake of conversation. This week, I don't know what gets into people's head or make people, and you guys can chime in too. I would like to hear you all's opinion, but I don't understand why people get so defensive when you bring up Ryan Kerrigan. And more so what he's not, as opposed to what he is, if that makes any sense. I don't understand, why, and I'll be quick because I know we're running up against the time. I just don't understand why people get so offended when you point out the fact that he's not this and that, and not focusing on what he is for the team. I kind of felt this week, that he was, and people kept pointing to his stats. And I wanted to give him credit for making up for a bad season. And I was legitimate. I guess people didn't understand the fact that I was sincere when I tweeted that. I was legit, proud of him for coming up because his first half of the season was terrible, essentially. But I just don't understand why people don't realize the numbers that he puts up is also skewed or more so misleading, and people always point to the fact that he's consistently putting up these stats, these sacks and stuff like that. I'm like, well, do you understand how he got these sacks? And people get offended. People want to say how wrong you are about Kerrigan, but I don't understand why they don't see. It's just, all I'm saying is he's a little bit overvalued as opposed to undervalued. If that makes any sense.
I've always rated Ryan Kerrigan as sort of a B+ level player because he has strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
He does have a lot of sacks. He's Mr. Consistency. He's played in 160 games in a row now.
Yeah, something like that.
It's high.
No, I think it was 120 something.
Okay, yeah, whatever it is, but he has weaknesses. And I think it's fair to point him out. He tends to disappear in seasons.
Sure. Look, he might be one of the better pure pass rusher sack guys in the game, but he's not a complete defensive outside linebacker type. And he's, I think he's not a quality player against the run. Sometimes he has trouble sealing the edge against the run, and so it's hard to say. I think Jamal, you're right in bringing it up because he's got his defenders. And from a pure numbers perspective, he puts up a lot of sacks, but he goes long stretches without having big impact on the game.
Thank you.
Week
sure.
after week after week.
And I'm sorry. Hold on, Alex. Did you have anything to add on to that?
No, I was just gonna say, after he got into the second place spot for Redskins sacks, I did a little math, and the number one guy is Dexter. He's got 91 sacks in his career, I think.
And that's with Dexter cutting his own career short because of his drug problem.
Right. Dexter did it in something like 8-10 seasons. I basically broke it down. Dexter Manley averaged 0.8 sacks a game. So almost
Dexter Manley is the best pass rusher we've ever had
right.
in this franchise.
Kerrigan's averaging 0.6 something, which it's still a very good number, but it's not the same number.
And here's the thing, and I'll just end it with this. I name any pass rusher that is considered elite. When we're talking about elite, nowadays that's what I want in this conversation. There's some Redskins fans who thinks he's elite, and I disagree completely. However, think of any elite pass rushers in the NFL today who can go. And I'll just name a quick stat. I think so. Officially, this year has been 6 games. The season's not over yet. 6 games without a sack. In the recent past, he's also had an entire season where he didn't have a second half sack of a game. He didn't have a sack in the second half of a game. So I'm just trying to figure out. I don't see any elite pass rushers going a full season with these numbers, let alone more than nearly half the season without a sack, like in 8 of the games.
Well, think about it. Yeah, and think about it like this: our opposing defense is game planning for Ryan Kerrigan.
I don't think so.
You're game planning for Khalil Mack.
Right.
You're game planning for guys like that. I think you're not. You frankly, I mean,
I think you are just because he's the best pass rusher we have, but not. It's not in the same way that you're talking about.
And I don't think Jamal is bashing Ryan
No.
Kerrigan. I think Jamal's just being fair about it, and that's I think it's fair to say this is who he is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying he's not elite, I mean that's fine, but I would say he's still probably one of the top 10, top 15 in the league.
No question. And that's the thing. I feel like he's a good, consistent player. That was never my argument. And the thing is, I never even stated anything about him being negative per se. I simply said, your numbers, I see right through your numbers. Of course, that could be taken the wrong way. I'll acknowledge that. But the intent is simply exactly how I explained it. His numbers are deceiving, and people fall for it every time, and that's what I meant. Like, I see through it. So you're not gonna convince me that you're more than what you are. But what you are is not you're not a bad player, and you're not below average. You're a good player, but you're nothing more than a good player. You still we would still need more out of you, or we would still need an elite player.
Ryan Kerrigan will make it into the Redskins Ring of Fame. He will never be a Hall of Fame guy. That's what he is.
I mean, the Redskins need a speed rusher off the defensive right side.
Yeah, someone opposite
Ryan,
him.
Yeah, and Ryan plays on the left side. I'm assuming, I've always thought it's because of his hearing deficiency is why he's always on that side. I don't know that, but that's always been my impression. But he doesn't go up against left tackles.
He's been doing it more this year. They've been changing him up. Yeah.
Flips out some, but the bottom line is I think they need a speed rusher to complement him. I don't think Preston Smith is going to be around next year.
No.
They need to find somebody with speed and burst off the edge, like what Brian Arakpo used to be in the beginning.
Well, and, there's also an argument to be made that I think they've also tried to not spend a lot of money on the second pass rusher. They've been trying to just draft guys and cycle guys through.
They have other needs.
Yeah.
But you can always use a pass rusher, and I think this is the year they probably need to draft one high again.
Yeah, I mean, they probably should do it every other year. Just keep drafting one in the second round or something. Yeah.
That's a good point you brought up, Jamal. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it's a good point. Fair. All right, well, let's quickly do final score predictions and close this thing out. Now, I'll just go first, and I don't see the Redskins winning this one. I think it'll be not as bad as some people are saying, but I'm guessing it's going to be something like 24-17, 24-14.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas, first of all, hates the Redskins in this game. The Titans are, when I
favorites.
checked on Tuesday night.
Yeah, Titans are 10-point favorites.
I got the numbers for you, man.
Yeah.
Come on now.
It's in my preview, I should just ask you to give it to me instead of me having to look it up. But no, anyway, I don't know. I mean, I don't think the Redskins can score 17 points against this team. I think it's more like, 28-10 kind of game.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the Redskins lose too. Sorry for those who are listening and hoping that there was some optimism from us. I do think they can play well. They can compete against or compete with the Titans. But I kind of see some similar to Alex, 24-14 type of game, 21-10 type of game. I really struggle seeing us score over 13 points. So that's just something that we'll have to overcome. Hopefully they can prove me wrong again. But yeah, I'll just stick with 24-14 Titans.
Because Jamal, you and I have been wrong a lot.
Yeah, I just embraced it. But the thing is, you actually asked me on Twitter. I started off December 2-0. Jaguars was my first loss, so I'm going to try and, unfortunately, because I'm calling us wrong, I'm calling us to lose this week, but I'm going to try and finish December strong.
I hate being wrong, but I don't mind it if I'm saying the Redskins are going to lose and I'm wrong. So
I mean, second in total points and first in
Yeah,
best team
yeah.
in the NFL in the red zone. That's a tough match.
it is. It's a very tough matchup. All right, well, let's wrap this thing up because we're about at 50 minutes. I want to thank our loyal listeners for listening. Don't forget to go to ticketclub.com. Don't forget to go put your name on our petition to get the Redskins to build a stadium at RFK. Don't forget to keep checking us out on Twitter. And don't forget it's the holidays, so go buy your parents some crap. Take care of each other.
Bye.